Hey, everybody, and welcome to the True Crime Squad. This is Katie Weaver. I am here with my sister, co host, and partner in crime, Christy Brower. Hello.
Hello. Hey, everybody. Happy Monday to you.
Well, thank you very much. Indeed, happy
I don't know
Monday.
where that came from, but
I didn't hate it.
I'm not
You know,
that happy about it being Monday actually, but maybe I'm happier about it than I knew.
I don't mind Mondays. People always, say TGIF. I work every day. So, I'm always like, no, it's Friday, whatever. It's not that big of a deal for me, but Mondays, I don't know. It's a fresh start.
Yeah.
Whatever you ruined last week, you can or didn't get done last week, you can, try and
You
pile it
can
on
try
this week.
again, right?
It's a fresh
It's true.
start. Yeah. Well, we had a great weekend.
Yes, we did. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, we did. Last night we made unicorn slime.
Yes, we did. I bought a kit from Target because I am such a child when it comes to stuff like that. So we made unicorn slime and it was really fun.
Yeah. We
Or
basically
if
just
you're our 16-year-old nephew, it was really gross because he made really gross slime.
yeah. Super gross. I gag thinking about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But however, we sat around for like 2 hours making and playing with slime, and it was just pretty dang good. Yeah,
Laughing our asses off. Yeah. It was really fun.
that's what we do. Yeah,
Hmm.
eating Chinese food. Yeah,
Yeah. Good Chinese food.
we don't hate it. So yeah. Well, hopefully you guys had a good weekend too. For
Mhm.
once, there's some pretty significant Daybell Vallow news. So this is a whole
Right?
Daybell Vallow episode. We haven't done a whole Daybell and or Vallow episode in a long time. So kind of glad to be
Yeah, it's
back
kind of
at it.
nice to have some new stuff to talk about. I know people that
Yeah.
cover this case sort of in infinitum, they recycle.
Hmm.
We don't do that. We talk about
Yeah.
things as they're current and, because we
Yeah.
think that's weird. But yeah, this is real current, real compelling stuff.
It is. You
It's
guys.
making me real excited for the hearing on November 29th, my birthday.
Mhm. That is going to be super interesting. So,
Yes, it is.
essentially, hold on to your butts because this is going to be pretty interesting stuff. But before we do that, get into Chad, Christy, there's a small update. Well, it's not even small. There's an update in Lori that's important to note.
There is, according to East Idaho News, the state of Arizona has said that they are not going to extradite Lori Vallow until her appeal is complete here in Idaho. So we've been wondering what was going to happen because extradition papers have been signed by both states now. They could take her at any moment. We've all been wondering, like, is she going to show up in Arizona at some point to
Mhm.
face charges for the attempted murder of Brandon Boudreaux and the murder of her husband, Charles Vallow?
Mhm.
No, the answer is no. They're going to let this appeal play out here in Idaho first.
Mhm.
So we know she has a new appellate attorney, and they
Mhm.
are seeking appeal on, well, basis of pretty much everything in the trial, Your Honor. Let's throw it all at the wall, see if anything sticks.
Yeah.
Mostly it's the 404B stuff, um, allowing in the prior bad acts from Arizona that are, I think that's pretty much the big question
Yeah.
is is that going to be upheld by the appeals court? So that
Yeah.
can take a year or more. We don't know when that will go to
Mhm.
court. We're a long ways from that at this point. But what we do know is Lori's going to be spending Christmas right here in Idaho at the
Mhm.
Pocatello Women's Prison, which is about 45 minutes from my house.
Oh, have fun, Lori. It's going to be wonderful.
Yeah, I got that.
There hasn't been a new filing in Lori's case since the 30th of October. So her appellate, well, they had asked for the transcripts of her case, of her trial. And so I'm sure that's they've received them now. So I'm sure that's what they're
Yeah.
doing is, going over those with a fine tooth comb. And as you know, that's going to take a hot minute to get all that done.
Oh my gosh, it's a lot. It's a voluminous amount of information, and we all know it. And we got to say, the voluminous hit East Idaho News, you guys. It hit
Mhm.
East Idaho News. It was in
And
the
the
article about these about these filings in Chad's
mhm.
case that we're going to talk about, and
Yeah.
about the appeal regarding Lori, which I thought was so fabulous. It is voluminous is spreading across the land. And I
Balloon
don't. I've
is
got the wrong
alive and
mug.
well.
We have a great voluminous mug in our merch store at truecrimesquad.com. It's
We
hilarious.
do. And t-shirt. Yeah.
Hmm. Yes, we do. I just have my regular old True Crime Squad mug today, but if you're
Yeah,
a big fan of voluminous, and we hear some of you out there already are,
mhm,
you're gonna want to get you one of those.
for sure. Just go to blah, blah. Go to truecrimesquad.com or
Yes,
something.
that's
Do something,
yeah, something like
and
that.
you'll find the link to our Etsy store there. Um, yeah, and Etsy. Oh my goodness! So you guys have showed out on ordering merch, and so these cups, which are my favorite, and I specifically bought these because the lids screw on, which I think is awesome because I have spilled so much coffee over the years and water
Mm,
and other
yes.
things. And also they have two different lids so that you can decide like what you want, per that day or whatnot. And they're 30 ounces, which people that do tumblers typically do the 20s because they're cheaper, but
Hmm.
they're not very big. If I'm
Mm-mm.
gonna drink
No,
water
no,
out
no,
of
no.
this, I want 30 ounces. I don't wanna refill it every 20 ounces. But anyway, so they're not as easy to get as the 20s, in other words. So anyway, I ordered a big box of them last week, 2 weeks ago, because you guys are going through them quick, and they never came.
Uh-oh.
And so I tracked them and it said damaged undeliverable. And then
Uh-oh.
there was a new tracking number that also said damaged undeliverable. So I'm like, what the hell? So I reach out to the company that I order these from, and they were like, "Oh yeah, 2 times. We've shipped out a third one." So if you're waiting for your cup, I am so sorry. It's Amazon. No, I'm sorry, it's not Amazon. It's UPS.
Ah, it's UPS.
Hmm.
Well,
It's a
I was wondering if it was maybe like the golden toilet thieves, possibly the dime thieves,
maybe.
messy because we've talked about them and about how
Yeah,
dumb they are. That possibly we're being uh we're being sabotaged now. I don't know.
we're being targeted. Yeah, I don't know. Come on, UPS,
Sure.
get your shit
I'm
together.
sure they've heard our I'm sure they've heard
Uh,
our podcast,
you
right?
know they listen to us. Anyway, how weird is that? So anyway, they're
That is weird.
promising they will have cups to me tomorrow, and I will get yours out as fast as I can. But that's if you're waiting, that's what you're waiting for. So UPS, for God's sake, you don't want to be on the FOS list. Get it together.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, let's jump into these filings from Chad. So he had 3 filings on the 9th. A motion in limine to limit states' consistent arguments, motion to strike the death penalty based on relative culpability, and motion to strike the death penalty as arbitrary, capricious, disproportionate. And if you're wondering who wrote these briefs, so are we, because
Someone a little more articulate than John Pryor.
John's got some help because you
They
can't
don't read
convince
like
me
a
that he
prior
wrote
brief at
these.
all.
Mm-mm,
There's no
and
pearl
they are
clutching.
good. Yeah.
They're really good. Maybe I have a thought. Because
Mm,
remember how when Archibald put forth the his objections to the death penalty for Lori,
that
and then
huge,
he
like,
admitted
60-page brief that was so
and,
good. Yeah.
and he admitted that it's just a cut and paste kind of deal that lots of defense attorneys use. He didn't write it. And I'm suspecting this might be the same thing where they just sort of put in some info here and there. Because, guys, it's top notch. There
Hmm.
are no errors. The grammar is all correct and the words are big.
Hmm.
It's not a John Pryor. And there's no pearl clutching. There's no, Your Honor, they're being mean to me. There's none of
Hmm.
that.
No,
So I'm
this is
suspecting someone totally different wrote it.
he's got help for sure. I wondered exactly the same thing when I was reading these, except for that they're pretty specific. I mean, obviously they could have been tweaked, but I will say I'm still amazed that they haven't filed the same 60-page document that Archibald filed for Lori in
Yeah.
because see, Archibald and Thomas filed a couple of things that were specific to standing in defiance of the death penalty, in objection to the
Yes.
death penalty in general, and also with this client. And that's done almost all the time by death penalty attorneys. And Pryor has
Hmm.
never done it. And we've all been like, why hasn't he? Well, he's doing this
Well,
instead, but
I
still,
guess
why
also
hasn't he?
he isn't a death penalty attorney. That's what we
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
He has no death penalty certification. So
no.
he's doing things in a very different way
Mhm.
than what you see, I think, standard, like certified death penalty attorneys do.
Yeah, definitely. So let's take a look. We'll go through all three of them briefly. They are pretty redundant to each other, but we'll
Hmm.
start with the motion in limine. This is the motion in limine to limit state consistent arguments on defendant's relative culpability. What does that mean? Well, what it means is that they are saying that in Lori's case, you basically said that Lori was the common thread. Lori
Hmm.
was the kingpin. Lori was the
Right.
one who was making the orders. Chad and Alex were doing what Lori said. So you can't come back in Chad's trial and claim that Chad was the mastermind. You can't have it both ways. And they have a lot
Right.
of legal arguments that support that. So basically, they're saying we believe that the state's arguments have to be limited to Chad's involvement versus Chad being the person in charge. So
Right.
I'll just read you the conclusion. The conclusion is the state should be limited to arguing only levels of relative culpability that are consistent with what was argued during Ms. Vallow's trial and sentencing, especially if the state continues to seek more severe punishment of Mr. Daybell than his co-defendant. In particular, the state must be limited to presenting the same core theory that was presented in the prosecution of Ms. Vallow, that she was the driving force behind a conspiracy leading to the deaths of Tylee Ryan, J.J. Vallow, and Tamara Daybell. That Ms. Vallow used both Alex and Chad through emotional and sexual manipulation, and that Ms. Vallow remained in charge of her plan throughout.
I mean, it's pretty obvious. Like, yeah, you can't
Mm-hmm.
come back and say, no, he was the instigator in all of this. They proved
Right.
over and over again that Lori is the instigator. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that was very clear in their
Yeah.
communications with each other. But I think it comes back to this death penalty argument is the main reason for this. But I think it's a
Mm-hmm.
valid point.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have it both ways. They've already proven that she was the instigator and she was found guilty. Therefore, they have to tweak the way that they present Chad's information. It's not that he isn't any less
Yeah.
culpable for the deaths because he
Yeah.
participated in all of them, but who was
Yeah.
the ringleader? The Golden Vagina was the ringleader. We all know that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Now, does this really hurt the state's case? Not really, because it's
They
still not
likely
that
are already
hard.
planning around this, I would
Yep.
imagine.
I'm sure they anticipated this. And I mean, they still have an enormous argument about Chad's culpability and Chad's
Right.
involvement. And it doesn't matter in a big sense whether Lori was in charge or Chad was in charge. Chad still did the things Chad did. Chad
Right.
was still involved. Chad still is a killer. Chad still had two dead children in his yard and a dead wife in his bed. Chad
Right.
is still as guilty as sin. Chad's still going to be proven to be guilty. So
Yeah.
this is just making it's doing two things. It's setting up potential appeals, if for some
Right.
reason the court
If this
doesn't
is
find this
violated.
way, or if the court does find this way and the prosecution toes that line anyway. So they're kind of, they're setting up some possibilities, but also,
Hmm.
or if the judge disagrees, that would definitely change things as well. I doubt he does. I suspect that
Yeah.
with the case law that they provided, he's going to go, yeah. But again, I think you're right. I would imagine the prosecution anticipated this, and that's not the
Yeah.
direction they're going anyway.
No, but you're totally right that this is setting up potential for appeal after the fact. They want
Yeah.
him to get a fair trial, and if he doesn't and this gets violated, that's a
Hmm.
reason for appeal. Yeah.
Hmm. Well, and it's something, we listened to the 404B objection 1,000 times in Lori's case, right?
Million billion.
This
Yeah.
may be the one that we hear over and over in Chad's if this goes to trial.
I
But
would imagine it is. Yeah.
but Your Honor, you know, I can just hear it now, regardless of what they say, being wait, what you can't say, and they'll be like, oh, we're not saying Chad was in charge. We're saying Chad did these things because Chad
Right.
did still do these things. So,
Yeah.
it will create a muddy line, I'm sure. But
Yeah. It
this is
will, but I mean,
Chad's
Chad
lawyer
still had a
lawyering.
choice. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. This is good legal defense.
Mhm.
And we
Yep.
want that. We want that because we want fair trials. We want people who are guilty to be, able to be convicted and stay in prison,
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
It's driving me crazy, but I have the tiniest bit of glitter right here on my forehead. It is from it's
Unicorn
from
slime.
yep, unicorn slime.
Mhm.
I cannot get it off. Anyway, so if you see the tiniest bit of glitter on my forehead right here, that's why. That's what it is. It's unicorn slime glitter. And it's apparently stuck to
That
me
is
for
way
time
funny.
immemorial.
Probably. That's pretty much how glitter is, yeah.
Yeah. I just keep taking a swipe at it and I cannot get it. So I'm gonna try to leave it alone now. But yeah. Thanks,
You guys
unicorn
have no
glitter.
idea how weird it is to be staring at yourself on camera the entire time. We're having these conversations, we're looking at each other side by
Mhm,
side, you know? And so if we seem to screw around with our hair or I know I push my
mhm,
glasses up a million times. Like it's because we're staring right at ourselves as we're talking to you.
mhm.
And
It
it is
really takes some getting
fucking
used
weird.
to. It is. It really
We've been
is.
doing it for years and it's still weird.
Uh-huh. I know. I'm always having to resist the urge to fiddle, and I probably do fiddle still a lot, but at any rate, usually it's the eyebrows that bug me, but right now it's the glitter. So, oh well. Life goes
Well,
on.
there you go.
Yeah. All right. Let's look at the motion to strike the death penalty based on relative culpability.
Yes.
All right. If you guys remember talking about that big brief that they filed in Lori's case, one of the things that brief said, and I remember we were all like, how dare you? Right? But a part
Yes.
of that brief says, what they did was bad, but was it like death penalty bad? Because we don't think so. And we all went,
Was this
are
like
you
the worst
motherfucking
of the
kidding me?
worst crime? And we're like,
Right?
actually, yes.
We think
Dead children?
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dead, mutilated children. Yeah, we think so. We think so.
Hmm.
But of course, this argument comes up yet again because it is a part of the Constitution, and that once upon a time, the death penalty was reserved for and should be reserved for only the most egregious and heinous crimes. Okay,
Right.
that's true.
It
That's in
still
the
is. I
Constitution
mean,
and it should be.
there are lots of murder cases that go through the courts in Idaho that do
Hmm.
not meet the requirement for the death penalty. That is the
Hmm.
thing. There
Yeah.
aren't that many of these cases. That's one reason why we cover them so heavily when there
Hmm.
are,
Yeah.
because they are unusual.
Yeah. Oh, hell, the
And
guy
that
that
is,
lost his shit and murdered his four neighbors here recently in Idaho
oh, Major John
is not,
Coeur. Yeah.
is not getting the death penalty.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
So,
And so, I mean, it is the worst of the worst. It is uncommon.
mhm, yeah. So, of course, that argument definitely is coming up because, of course, it will. Uh, but the other part of that they're arguing is that it's not fair that Lori got the death penalty dropped because of a procedural issue with the prosecution. And had Chad waived his right to, or had Chad not waived his right to a speedy trial and insisted on a quick trial and went to trial with Lori, they would have had to drop the death penalty for him too. But
Right.
he said, no, I want to waive my right to a speedy trial. I want more time. We want to do that DNA that they never did, as predicted. But,
Yes.
they wanted more time. And now they're saying, but now we're getting stuck with the death penalty when Lori didn't get it. And that's not fair to us.
Right.
Now,
And that's the arbitrary argument
yeah.
that you can't just, one person gets it and the other one doesn't in the same trial for an arbitrary reason, like a decision they made prior to the death penalty being dropped on Lori. That's not fair.
Hmm. Yeah. So let me show you a little bit of the argument. The fundamental respect for humanity underlying the Eighth Amendment's prohibition against cruel and unusual punishment gives rise to a special need for reliability in the determination that death is the appropriate punishment in any capital case. This is from Johnson v. Mississippi in 1988. Additionally, the U.S. Supreme Court has held the Eighth Amendment demands that the death penalty, as the most severe punishment, must be limited to those offenders who commit a narrow category of the most serious crimes and whose extreme culpability makes them the most deserving of execution. So, in other words, there has to be a meaningful basis for distinguishing the differences between the most egregious crimes and the ones that perhaps deserve something more appropriate, like life in prison. So, that's
Yeah.
one of the things that they're arguing is that,
Well, and the most egregious offenders.
yes,
Is Chad more culpable for these murders than Lori? So that's where that other
right.
argument comes from, I think,
Hmm.
is saying they already said she was the ringleader. How can you say Chad's more culpable
Yeah.
and deserves the death penalty when she didn't?
Hmm. For sure.
Which, I mean,
I mean,
these are valid
unfortunately,
points.
yeah, and unfortunately, that's not at all what the prosecution said. But because they made some errors that resulted in the death penalty being dropped, it doesn't matter,
It's the
because
outcome
that's
that
what
matters.
happened. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not really about intent. It's about,
No.
can Chad be punished for this
Hmm.
and Lori not be punished for it because one is more culpable than the other.
Hmm. So some of the uh, factual background that they're bringing are direct quotes from prosecutors in Lori's trial. So I'm going to share a few of those with you. Again, arguing that Lori was the common thread, because again, we're
Mhm.
saying, why should Chad get the death penalty when Lori didn't, if Lori was the big bad guy?
Right.
So these are a few things that were said in court in Lori's trial. This plan was driven by Lori's desire for and use of money, power, and sex. And this plan, which she set in motion, yada, yada, yada.
Mhm.
And there is one common thread through these murders, Lori Vallow. She is the one person who ties these all together. She's moving this plan forward. There is no question that Tylee Ryan, JJ Vallow, and Tammy Daybell were murdered. Who is the common thread? Lori Vallow. The evidence in this case points to one common thread, and that thread is Lori Vallow. She is a killer. Lori is the connection to the deaths. Lori manipulated Alex through religion. She manipulated Chad through emotional and sexual control. She groomed Alex Cox. Lori uses sex to manipulate Chad, and Chad seeks confirmation from Lori repeatedly. Chad's telling Lori what she wants to hear. She reinforces him with sexual behavior. Chad is not going to act with Lori with Chad is not going to act without Lori saying so. Lori is the conduit of information to Alex. Alex does what Lori tells him. Lori Vallow handed off JJ to Alex Cox. Lori Vallow is telling Alex Cox what to do. In these messages, you never see Alex telling her what to do. She's telling him what to do. Melanie Gibb responds, "Okay, Captain." Why does she say, "Okay, Captain"? Because Lori is in charge. And this last one was in all three briefs. You guys are going to pee your pants, but we'll go ahead and spill it out there. What does Chad say? "Just grab me by the storm, and I will follow you to the ends of the universe. Not you follow me, Lori. I will follow you." So apparently, Chad wanted Lori to grab him by the, you
You know
know,
what?
and drag him around the universe. So, are you happy now, Chad?
Boy, thanks a lot that we had to hear that again.
Over and over.
Chad's
All three
defense
briefs had
team.
it.
It's really powerful, though. It is a
Hmm.
powerful statement from a man
Hmm.
to a woman. And
Unfortunately
I,
for Chad, though, she didn't drag him all around the universe. She drug him straight to jail.
She drug him
But
straight to the Fremont County Jail, which ain't no fun, guys.
no. So,
Hot Pockets for Thanksgiving dinner.
yep,
I don't know if that's true, but
forever. Hmm. So basically, the argument here again is that you know, it isn't correct to give Chad the death penalty if Lori's not getting the death penalty. That he should not have something that is more harsh than she is as far as punishment. So I'm just going to share the
mhm.
conclusion. For the foregoing reasons, any death sentence imposed upon Daybell would violate the fundamental constitutional principles requiring equal justice under the law and would be unconstitutionally disproportionate, excessive, fundamentally unfair, and arbitrary and capricious. No way. No way in hell that John Pryor wrote this.
Right.
Mr.
No.
Daybell respectfully requests that this court strike the state's August 5th, 2021 intent to seek the death penalty pursuant to the 6th, 8th, and 14th Amendments to the United States Constitution. And lastly, the last filing. Sorry, let me get to the top here. Sorry, you guys, I've got too many windows open here.
These are big
Oh,
filings, you guys. They are.
right. Well, okay, so I'm not going to really go through all three of them because they're pretty much the same. But again, so the motion to strike the death penalty based on relative culpability, as we went through, and then of course, motion to strike the death penalty as arbitrary, capricious, and disproportionate in light of striking death penalty in co-defendant's case, which is essentially just the same argument that Lori didn't get the death penalty and Chad shouldn't either.
Well, yeah, because if Chad had arbitrarily not waived his right to speedy trial long before this ever happened, just like Lori did, they would have both had the death penalty waived
Hmm.
because of the error made by the prosecution.
Hmm.
So you can't penalize him for that decision.
Yeah.
You know, the right to speedy trial is a constitutional right. And
Hmm.
it is I think it's a pretty strategic choice made by defendants and their attorneys, one way or the other, based on what will best benefit them. And you can't then punish them later for that decision for something they did not know was going to happen, or benefit them later for something. You know, it worked out for Lori and it didn't for Chad, but that's totally arbitrary because
Hmm.
no one made that choice intentionally, but it
Right.
was the outcome. I don't
Yep.
know, guys. I think Boyce is going to grant this.
I do
I
too.
He's a conservative judge. He is
Hmm.
not a precedent setter. He
Hmm.
is trying very hard to not risk appeal. That's exactly why he waived death penalty for Lori, because of the
Hmm.
risk. There's no other remedy for this situation than to waive the
Hmm.
death penalty. You can't give him a lesser remedy.
Hmm.
Then it's still arbitrary. Like, I think they're going to do it.
I do too. At this point, I'd actually be really surprised if he doesn't. Here's what I anticipate. I think they'll argue this on the 29th. I don't think there'll be a ruling that day. I think it'll come out the following week in a written ruling from the judge per his style. And I think he's going to drop the death penalty. And
I do
if
too.
that's the case, I am then much more convinced that this case really is going to go to trial.
Right. This is a test. This is a
Hmm.
test.
Hmm.
If they can get the death penalty waived, there's no reason to not go to trial. There's no
Hmm.
reason to take a plea.
Well, there's
If the
lots of
judge,
reasons, but there wouldn't be a plea
well, but
anymore.
there's really no. I mean, he's looking at life or the death penalty. I mean,
Yeah.
Lori's already got lifetimes
Right.
3.
Yeah.
So is he.
Hmm.
So if they think that they have a chance to go to trial without the death penalty,
They're going to do
they'll
it.
go. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. They're going to do it. So, very, very interesting stuff. We'll attach all three
Mhm.
of the briefs to our case notes so that you guys can go out and read them if you would like to. Again, really good arguments, very well written. Not what we've seen in the past from
Mm-mm.
this defense, particularly. I'm
This
not
is
saying
much more.
or I'm not saying that John Pryor's a big idiot. He's not at all. But these aren't his writings, in my opinion. They don't look like his at all from
No.
past stuff. Yeah.
Well, and if you're struggling with this, okay, I had to take Chad's dumb face out of my mind
Mhm.
when thinking about these arguments and think about any defendant from now and going forward,
Mhm.
would we want the court and the state to manipulate the system in a way that would allow one defendant to get a harsher punishment than the other for the same crime? No, we wouldn't.
No.
We don't want this precedent set. You can see
No.
why the protections are in place.
Mhm. And
So,
though that very thing has triggered a lot of appeals in the past that have been successful.
right,
I would rather see Chad's dumb face in prison forever
right.
than
Me
anything
too.
else.
Me too. Me too. And so that's, I know there's a lot of knee jerk reaction when this kind of stuff comes out. And
Mhm.
my initial reaction was I laughed my ass off. I'm like, oh, whatever. And then I read the legal arguments and I was like,
Mhm.
oh, shit. They're right.
Mhm.
We can't make this a precedent. That's always the worry
Mhm.
when a judge goes against the grain is they set a precedent that then can be used in the future to violate somebody else's rights.
Mhm.
We
And
don't want
that's
anybody's rights
not
violated.
Judge Boyce's style at all.
No, no,
At
he
all.
toes the line.
Mhm.
He's a conservative judge. He does not take risks. I don't think he's going to risk this.
I don't either.
I think he's going to waive the death penalty.
I think it'll be very interesting to see what the response from the prosecution is.
Yes, it
Uh,
will.
that what case law they will cite, of course, because they're going to have their own side of this. But I think they'll lose this one. I do.
I
Mm.
do as well. And honestly, I will be able to sleep well at night if they do.
Oh yeah, I'm not worried.
I'm not either. This doesn't mean he's not going to prison forever. I mean,
Oh no.
we've sat through Lori's trial. We've been to her, her sentencing.
Hmm.
We know what the evidence is against them, and culpability
Right.
is still there for the deaths of three people.
Right.
Regardless of whose idea it was, Chad still participated in all of it. So,
Well, for sure. And that exactly. Going back to the motion in limine, do you really think the jury's going to care whether or not the argument is that Chad was a love struck puppy that was willing to do anything for Lori, including murder, or that Chad was in charge of the murders? It doesn't matter. The murders happened. The kids were buried on Chad's property. Tammy was killed in Chad's bed. It is not going to matter. That argument is fine.
no,
It doesn't matter. Honestly, in my opinion, in some ways, it makes Chad look worse that he was so weak. And frankly, he was such a horny idiot that he was
yeah,
willing to commit all of these crimes, murders for Lori.
for the golden vagina.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that's
I know
okay.
that storm quote sums it all up.
Hmm.
It really does.
Hmm.
You're right. What a horny idiot.
Hmm. Yep. So does it matter? No, not really.
Mm,
And honestly, again, I really suspect that the prosecution anticipated that. And that's probably not the argument that they're crafting for Chad, anyhow.
I would imagine so. They know.
Hmm.
They can't contradict themselves like that, and they don't even need to. That's the thing. They don't.
Right.
It's not like they need to. It's not like this
No.
case that his trial is going to be hard. It's not. They've already won, 5 stars in Lori's
Hmm.
case. They're going to do it again.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it has been said about this case that there is voluminous evidence.
Yes,
And
it has been. I have
indeed,
heard
there
that
is.
before.
So do not worry, do not fret. All is well. This is just the procedural stuff that happens in cases like this. And
Yep.
if you are a fan of the law or of, studying law and understanding case law, you'll find this all to be really interesting. And, and it is really interesting. So
Yeah, it
well
is.
done, John Pryor. I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, but well done, John. This is probably the thing that will save your client's life.
It really probably is.
Yep.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, that is that. So this is Monday. We'll be back on Tuesday with a brand new episode. We'll be back on Wednesday with a brand new episode. We'll be back Wednesday night for case updates. And it is listening party or watch party
Yeah.
this week. So we'll let you know tomorrow what the watch party movie will be or documentary will be this week so that you can get it pulled up. It will be on Netflix and it will be something. weird AF. I promise that.
I mean, if you survived the Halloween one, as we all barely did by the skin of our teeth, you'll be all right.
I'm still horrified, to be fair.
I'm still
I'm
shook
still
by that
thinking
one,
about
but
it.
yes.
I'm still thinking about it.
I
Yeah.
know, me too. Yeah, holy
But
shit.
here we are. So, and if you don't know what our watch party is, if you are a member of our subscription on YouTube, it's $4.99 a month. Then you get to come to the watch party. What we do is we open up a chat room. We open up a live stream, just like our normal lives, only we're not on the screen. We're just chatting with you guys. You're going to watch it at home on your own device. We're watching at our homes on our own device because we can't
Mhm.
stream a documentary from Netflix because that's illegal. So you have to watch
You
it
would
on
go
your own.
straight to jail,
But we all hang
probably.
out in the chat room and talk together about it. And it actually is a ton of fun. It's the
It
next
is.
best thing to us all having a chance to just get together and hang out. So
Yes.
come and become a member. That's an easy thing to do. And we have a good time doing it. So watch for that.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. Alrighty, guys. Well, this is this and that is that. So have a good Monday, a great rest of your day. Please take good care of yourselves. You deserve that. This has been yet another production of the True Crime Squad.
Bye, everybody.